Hi, my name's Phil. I talk about politics. In this video, I'd like to discuss another example of really Tory sleaze, how the Conservative government are tying themselves in knots again in order to save one of their own, this time by suggesting that there's nothing at all wrong with corruption. In fact, it's even laudable. It's obvious, isn't it? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So this is really all following on from the Robert Jenrick scandal. I did a video on this a while back, but for those not really familiar, in a nutshell, he circumvented the normal planning procedures for a Tory donor in order to save said Tory donor £45 million in taxes. 2 weeks afterwards, Jenrick did what the donor wanted. That donor presented the Conservative Party with a £12,000 donation. £12,000 for £45 million. That is not a bad bit of business there. And I've said it before, you know, these people who get government contracts or get a lot of money from the government somehow, in this case by saving on taxes, they don't have to pay a lot. You know, I always sort of say Americans must be scratching their head and thinking, well, we get corruption over here as well, but they don't half have to pay for it. It costs a lot of money. No, our ministers are very cheap. So legal action was begun at the time, and Jenrick then admitted that he'd acted unlawfully. He didn't fancy getting into a whole legal thing, so he just said, yeah, actually, yeah, unlawful behaviour, cancelled his approval and passed the application on. He broke the law. He admitted breaking the law, albeit with excuses. You know, he didn't say, he didn't say it was corruption. He gave his excuses. And yet, he's still a senior government minister. In any other age, he'd have had to resign immediately. And I don't just mean under a different government, under a Conservative government, but not Boris Johnson. He would have had to have resigned immediately. Now, this was back in January. 5 months on, he's still in post. But the political heat is rising on the issue. Text messages have been obtained from the affair. One of them reads as follows. So, first of all, text message from Desmond, who's the Tory donor who wanted his planning permission. Your efficient PA has arranged a meeting for 19th December at 10:30 a.m. for meet and site visit. Good news, finally the inspectors' reports have gone to you today. We appreciate the speed as we don't want to give Marxists loads of dough for nothing. We all want to go with the scheme and the social housing we proposed and spent a month at the Marxist town hall debating. Thanks again, all my best, Richard. Now, I'll read the bit from Jenrick as well, then I want to say things about both of those. Text message from Jenrick. Richard, as Secretary of State, it is important not to give any appearance of being influenced by applicants of cases that I may have a role in or to have predetermined them, and so I think it is best if we don't meet until after the matter has been decided. Now, two things of real interest to me there, personally. First, there is the so-called justification for swindling the public by Desmond, the guy who was bribing the government to get his planning permission through. We don't want to give the Marxists loads of dough, which he spelled as if he was talking about female deers. We all remember the song, don't we? A doe, a deer, a female deer. But in this particular case, you know, what he's talking about is withholding money from the London council involved. But it nonetheless explains just how these people justify their banditry. Because you might imagine, it's easy to imagine, isn't it, that when these very wealthy people are getting out of paying vast amounts of tax or corruptly gaining government contracts, whether lawfully or not, that they know that they're doing wrong and just don't care. They're just evil people. I mean, some are, inevitably, but the human spirit exists in the wealthy too, with many of them having consciences. So they lie to themselves. They make it all right. Lots of people, we all lie to ourselves every now and then to justify a difficult position. In this case, his swindle isn't depriving good, honest British citizens of much needed public services. No. That would be a very difficult thing to justify. No, by keeping the 45 million, for himself, he's actually doing us a favour by keeping it out of the hands of the Marxists. Ooh, the Marxists. Marxists in this case being the good people of Tower Hamlets. And then the second text from Jenrick himself, making it clear that he knew the whole affair was dodgy and talking about the need to maintain appearances of propriety. Now, he doesn't say that he mustn't be influenced by applicants, but that he mustn't give the appearance of being influenced. The language is absolutely crucial, and that one text alone, if there were no other evidence, and there's a lot, because this only came to light recently, shows that he understands that he was willfully engaged in corruption and just wanted to keep his tracks covered. That was all he was bothered about at this point. He'd already prejudged it. Of course, he didn't keep his tracks covered. That did not occur. So the political heat is on Jenrick to resign, nearly half a year after the scandal broke. Now, in defending him, a more junior minister was interviewed on the subject on radio. Nadim Zahawi, who was a business minister. Well, junior, he's not in the cabinet, junior minister. Cabinet ministers are tending to try and steer clear of journalists at the moment. Now, he was asked how, for example, an ordinary person from Doncaster, my hometown, could get such access to ministers for their housing applications. And he said that they could get access to MPs by going to Conservative fundraising events. He actually said that. That's the process. I'll post a link to the clip in the description below because you really need to listen to it for yourself. He actually seemed rather irritated at even being asked about it. You know, he really is irritated in this clip as well. And for goodness sake, he was protesting. These ordinary people can get access to their MPs. They just have to pay for it by donating to my party. I mean, it's simple enough, isn't it? What's so difficult to understand about that? Goodness sake. And as part of the interview, Zahawi also said that Jenrick had done nothing wrong. That's an interesting statement, isn't it? That's a very interesting statement because bear in mind, Robert Jenrick himself has admitted to acting unlawfully. He's tried to defend his actions, sure, but he's still admitted to breaking the law. Now, if breaking the law is doing nothing wrong, where do we go from there? Because when the official position of the government, and we must assume that this is the official position of the government because a government minister has stated a thing, and we haven't seen any retractions from more senior members of the government, including number 10, since. So when the official government position is that breaking the law is fine, as long as you are either, 1, a government minister, or 2, an advisor to a government minister. Because is that it? Because that seems to be now stated government position. A government minister has stated it, and it hasn't been retracted. So that's what it's sounding like to me. So the government seem to think it's absolutely fine for this sort of behaviour to carry on. You know, of course, if you want access to our MPs to get some preferential treatment, you just have to pay for it. What's so difficult about that? That is it. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.